Hey everyone, welcome to Craving Something Scary, where it's all horror all the time. Now in this video, I'm going to discuss the current controversy surrounding Jenna Ortega's comments about the reason she left Scream 7 in an interview earlier this week. I will explore what she said and share my thoughts on why I am not so quick to believe her. I'll tell you why I feel this way and show you the evidence supporting it. So buckle up and prepare yourself because we're about to dive into some Scream 7 drama. Let's go!
It's David Arquette, Dewey from the Scream movies, as you know. Remember, there's only one rule to surviving a horror movie, and that's subscribing to Craving Something Scary.
So before I get started, I want to say a couple of things so that it's very clear what my intentions are for this video. First, I have always supported Melissa Barrera from day one of the announcement that Spyglass was not bringing her back because of her social media posts, and I still do. Second, I have zero intention to, quote, bash Jenna Ortega in any way. I am simply sharing my thoughts and opinion about what Jenna has said this week regarding her new claims of why she was not going to return to Scream 7. I have no personal agenda against Jenna whatsoever. And anyone watching this video who has spent real time on my channel and watching content already knows my feelings about Jenna as an actor and her great career potential. And third, I am in no way doing any type of damage control on behalf of Spyglass Media Group or even Scream 7 for that matter. I have never shied away from being vocal on my dislike of Gary Barber, the studio head of Spyglass, and how he's handled things with the Scream franchise. I've called out Spyglass on multiple occasions during live streams and on videos. It started with not paying Nev enough to return in Scream 6, then I blasted them again for the whole Melissa debacle, and most recently for not paying Patrick Dempsey enough to return for Scream 7, which is what it should be. I am the last person you would ever call a Spyglass fan. So, if you're watching and thinking this video is to somehow try and help Spyglass or provide some kind of damage control on their behalf or some type of promotion machine for the studio, I'm sorry, you're just dead wrong. So now that I've gotten all of that out of the way, we can get into this. So, Variety published an article this week highlighting Jenna Ortega's new comments from her interview with The Cut, talking about her exit from Scream 7 and why she left the film. So the article says, Jenna Ortega revealed in an interview with The Cut that her exit from the Scream franchise was not due to a scheduling conflict as originally reported. Ortega, who played Tara Carpenter in 2022 Scream and 2023 Scream 6, exited the 7th movie in November of 2023. She said at the time it was due to her shooting schedule. It had nothing to do with pay or scheduling, Ortega revealed. The Melissa stuff was happening, and it was all kind of falling apart. If Scream 7 wasn't going to be with that team of directors and the people I fell in love with, then it didn't seem like the right move for me in my career at the time. The Melissa stuff refers to Ortega's Scream co-star, of course, Melissa Barrera, who was fired from Scream 7 due to social media posts she put up about Israel and Palestine. News of Ortega's exit followed one day after Barrera's firing, which naturally led to speculation that Ortega was leaving the franchise out of support for Barrera. Ortega's interview with The Cut now confirms that to be the case. Okay, guys, so clearly at this point, Jenna is now saying, okay, no, it really wasn't about my schedule back then. It's really because I want to support Melissa. The Melissa stuff is going on. And that's where we're at right now as of this week. And it sounds great. And listen, at the end of the day, what do we see all over social media spreading across the fandom right now? If you spend time on social media, you already see it. Jenna is amazing because she said she would not return for Scream 7 the next day after Melissa was told she would not be back by the studio. Now, she said initially it was scheduling, right? And shooting conflicts, as we just read a moment ago. But now she has come out this week and saying, no, it really wasn't a scheduling conflict. I left because the Melissa stuff was happening. So what the result of that is she's right now being put on a pedestal by many people in social media and in the Scream fandom and even news outlets for supporting her friend and protesting the studio by quitting Scream 7. Well, folks, I hate to say this, but I'm not buying what Jenna is selling. I do not believe she is being truthful about her position to leave Scream 7. I've changed my initial feelings from when it all happened, and now I do not believe her initial comments of scheduling conflicts, and I do not believe her new comments that she left Scream 7 because of Melissa's treatment and things falling apart. I don't believe any of that. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. How come I'm taking this position and why do I feel this way? Well, it is not without great consideration on my part, trust me. And I'm going to now explain to you why this is how I feel about Jenna's comments. So yesterday, Variety published another article, and this article is their interview with Christopher Landon, who, as you probably know, was signed on to direct Scream 7 in the summer of 2023. But after the horrible fallout of the Melissa situation, in which he received death threats, not just towards him, but his children as well, he said, I'm stepping down from Scream 7. It was really sad to see him go. I hated that. I was excited for him to be there, but I totally understood why he did it. And I hope that maybe one day he'll return to do a Scream film sometime. Maybe if Spyglass will sell the IP of Scream to another studio like Blumhouse or something like that, someone like that would be great. Then maybe he will come back and direct a Scream film. I hope so. Now, back to why I do not believe Jenna's comments. During Christopher Landon's interview with Variety, he revealed something that, for me, guys, changed everything. And I'm going to share it with you now. So let's read it together. Happy Death Day director Christopher Landon is opening up about exiting Scream 7. The director officially announced his departure from the horror sequel in December 2023, about a month after Melissa Barrera was fired from the movie due to social media posts she wrote about Israel and Palestine. Jenna Ortega's exit from Scream 7 was announced the day after Barrera's firing. Ortega said at the time of her exit that it was her shooting schedule that was preventing her from starring in Scream 7. But the actor told Cut this month, we just saw the article out this week, she left the film because of the fallout from fallout from Barrera's firing. Speaking to Variety on his Drop press tour, Landon said that, quote, "When I signed on to the project, I was told Ortega was out. That was one of the first things they told me right when I signed on. And I was like, oh, you know what? Really? So that was a bit of a shock to me." He goes on to say, "And so at the time we were figuring out, how do we make another movie without her? How do we manage that?" We have Jenna saying that she chose to walk away the day after the Melissa incident, and we have Christopher Landon saying that Spyglass had already decided they were not bringing Jenna back for Scream 7, and they informed him of that when he signed on from day one, and that was the summer of 2023. And I mean, he says it right here: "When I signed on to the project, I was told Ortega was out. That was one of the first things they told me right when I signed on." And he was like, "Oh, really?" So that was a bit of a shock to me. And I further emphasized Landon's comments when he said this, "And so at the time we're figuring it out, how do we make another movie without her? How do we manage that?" So this was clearly an issue for Christopher. Like, she was gone. Spyglass had already decided not to bring Ortega back when they brought Christopher Landon on to direct the next film. And his reaction here, his statements here clearly show he was not expecting that, and that it was already a done deal. So when it comes to this type of situation, guys, where we have one person saying one thing and another person saying another thing, and it contradicts what the first person said, in this case Jenna, Christopher's comments contradict what Jenna said, you have to take into account at least a couple of things, okay? First thing to consider when it comes to contradicting statements with folks is, who has a motive to lie and what do they have to gain? So when it comes to Christopher Landon, what would be his motive, and what would he gain for lying about this now? Here we have an established and highly thought of and respected director and writer in Christopher Landon, who shared this candid information in an interview, being very transparent. What would be his motive to make up this story that he was informed on day one that Spyglass had already decided to move on from Jenna returning? I mean, you got to think, you'd have to give this some thought and make this up. And there's just nothing I can think of that would be a motive for Chris to make this story up and share it in an interview. There's just no motive. This was almost 2 years ago. I mean, think about that. This happened almost 2 years ago now, guys. Since then, Christopher has moved on. He wrote and or directed 2 movies now since that occurrence, which was December of 2023. He wrote and directed, well, actually, just to back up, his first film, they were both this year, they're both coming out this year, was Hard Eyes, and also the new film, Drop. And he's never demonstrated anything that we can see to show him to be dishonest or to lie thus far in his 20-plus year career as a writer and filmmaker. His reputation is stellar, and all arrows point to him being a standout guy. I even got to meet him and talk with him for over an hour on my channel, and you could see through our discussion, if you watch the interview, the sincerity in his comments and answering my questions. very clear. I have no reason at all to believe he's lying here. Just no reason. There's no motive. Nothing to gain. Now, someone may give an objection to what I just said, and they may say something like this. Well, Hard Eyes was a Spyglass movie, so he has a motive to lie because he's trying to protect the studio and do damage control on behalf of Spyglass. Well, for that objection, my response is simply this. First of all, he was a writer and producer on Hard Eyes, but he was not a director. But moreover, this argument is not valid in my opinion, because after Hard Eyes was completed, what did he do? He partnered with Blumhouse Productions to direct their new film Drop, which coincidentally just dropped in theaters today on Friday, April the 11th, when I'm recording this. So if someone is going to try and accuse Christopher Landon of doing damage control or protecting a studio, it should be Blumhouse, not Spyglass. So, this objection has no legs to stand on if you really think about it. He has moved on. All right, so no motive, nothing to gain. So let's now consider Jenna Ortega. What would be her motive? And what would she gain for lying about this? Well, now that we know for sure she's already lied once in November of 2023 about the reason for not returning to Scream 7, when she claimed was scheduling conflicts, obviously. We know now, in light of Christopher Landon's comments, that she was told she would not be returning by Spyglass sometime prior to the summer of 2023. So what was her motive to say that she was leaving the studio or the film because of scheduling conflicts, and do it the day after what happened to Melissa? So here is my thoughts. Her motive. Well, it made it look to the public and the fans, all of us, that she was in control and walking away from Scream 7 on her own terms. In other words, she chose to leave Scream 7 and Spyglass. So by doing this, on that day after Melissa, it appeared that her leaving was her decision, okay? Rather than her just being honest, that she was essentially fired by Spyglass months prior to the Melissa event. And I get it, right? She doesn't want to admit that she was basically fired, that she wasn't coming back. Studio was not going to have her back for Scream 7. But still, she made this up, that it was a scheduling conflict. And what did she gain for lying? Well, for lying back then, she was taking advantage of a public perception after what happened to Melissa. If you think about it, guys, it was the perfect time to appear to leave Scream 7 on her own terms, knowing the public perception of her would be super supportive, since she made this announcement the very next day after Melissa was told she was not coming back. And it worked. I mean, I remember talking about this in videos and live streams back in, what was that, November? Yeah, November of 2023. I applauded her for making the decision not to come back and for her to stand, with Melissa and even though it was scheduling conflicts, whatever. But I remember how that felt, seeing that. And she absolutely pulled it off. She was lying then. She timed it out perfectly. She knew for months she wasn't coming back. The studio wasn't having her back. And she kept quiet. And when was the perfect time to say something? Oh, well, after Melissa was horribly treated by Spyglass, she took advantage of that. Now, fast forward to this week. Why would she lie again? Well, guys, I believe she's taking another opportunity to posturing here, and get some more praise from the public for quitting a film to stand by her friend Melissa. And that's what she's basically saying now. Well, one glance at social media and news outlets, again, you will see so much praise, so much accolades being poured out on Jenna Ortega right now. And you know what? Her most recent film, Death of a Unicorn, was a box office bomb. And what better time to get some positive press again than to bring up this huge Melissa controversy that's nearly 2 years old and say, hey guys, I really left Scream 7, not because of my schedule, but because I wanted to support my friend Melissa. It's a great way to get her name back in the headlines. We're talking about her. It worked. After a dud film, now she's getting lots of admiration from the public. It was a win-win, two-sided coin. She played it and she nailed it. It's absolutely working. And we're talking about Jenna Ortega, and most people are praising her right now, putting her back in positive press. And the fact of the matter is, guys, what really bums me out about this whole deal is that with Christopher Landon's comments this week stating she was already not going to be back because the studio chose it, she now has 2 times in November 2023 and now out of the blue in 2025, she's coming back to revisit it and say again that she left on her own terms. And I want to stress something right now, very important. It's very important, and I want you to understand this. I do believe that Jenna supports Melissa in what happened with Spyglass. And I do not doubt she stands with her. I really don't. I believe she does support Melissa. And I have no reason to not believe that. So if someone tries to say that I'm accusing Jenna of lying about supporting Melissa, they clearly have not watched any of my videos or live streams back when it all went down. And clearly they didn't finish watching this video right now, because I'm fully sharing with you that I believe Jenna supports Melissa. That's not the issue. I've never questioned that. I'm not questioning it now in this video either. So what, if you're asking what is the question then? What are you really asking? Well, what the question is about is only one thing. Whether or not Jenna is lying about her departure from Scream 7 being her choice, or if she was in essence being fired by Spyglass. That's all I'm questioning. So people are taking this and running with it. And I'm like, well, hold on a second now, guys. Let's use our brains. Let's look at this objectively. Christopher Landon has said she was fired or, not coming back by the studio's choice. And now Jenna has popped up first in November of 23 and again now saying, in essence, she made the choice. So here's my final word on all of this, guys. Here's where I stand. After looking at Jenna and Christopher's comments, along with everything I've shared, I stand behind Christopher Landon's statement that Jenna Ortega was already told by Spyglass that they were not bringing her back for Scream 7 prior to Christopher Landon's hiring in the summer of 23. When taking everything into consideration, and until such a time that I see that his credibility is ever shown to be questionable in the future, until that happens, that is going to remain my opinion because I believe it. I believe it makes the most logical sense. Christopher has no motive and nothing to gain. Jenna has motive, has everything to gain. Positive press. And it's working again. And once more, I don't question Jenna and her support of Melissa. I believe it's genuine. But what I am questioning and saying I don't believe in Jenna is that she actually had a say in whether or not she was coming back. She was essentially fired, and now she's trying to again cash in on this situation because it makes her appear that she had control of the decision to not return. And that is what I don't like. That dishonesty rubs me the wrong way, guys. And honestly, it should rub you the wrong way too, in my opinion. That's my opinion. I'm not going to tell you what to think, but I'm going to tell you at least this. Think about it if you're not sure. And then make your own mind up. Obviously, everyone has their own opinion, and I support that. So, I don't believe Jenna's comments that she left on her own terms in November of 23 or now. I think the decision was made by Spyglass earlier, months earlier actually. And I think Christopher Landon, there's no reason for that to be a lie. It's just not. No logical sense for that. So guys, you know now where I stand on this. But again, make up your own minds, okay? If you agree with me, well then great. If you don't, that's fine as well. I want you have to make your own decision. But I've made mine. This is where I stand. And I'm going to shift things over to you now and what you're thinking about all of this. I'm ready to find out your thoughts and your ideas about Jenna and Christopher's comments this week. And you do that by sharing them in the comments section below. So where do you stand on Jenna's comments that she left Scream 7 on her own terms versus Landon's statement that she was already not coming back because Spyglass was not bringing her back for Scream 7? One of them is lying. I've told you where I stand and why. So tell me where you stand and let me know in the comment section below. Again, right now, I love to know what's on your mind, guys, but I'm not a mind reader. So if you don't leave a comment, I'll never know. All right, everybody, I'm going to leave it there. But I'll be back soon with more Scream 7 and other horror movie content. So don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And until next time, this is Craving Something Scary, where it's all horror all the time. Thanks for watching.